let's keep in mind Winston's checkered past. He had a sexual assault allegation at Florida State in which he did not face criminal charges, but he and the accuser settled for an undisclosed amount in a civil case, and Florida State agreed to pay the woman close to $1 million for a Title IX settling lawsuit. In addition, Winston was issued a citation while at FSU after he shoplifted crab legs from a supermarket and was disciplined by the football team after standing on a table inside the student union and shouting a sexually explicit internet meme. Then last year, he spoke to a group of elementary school students and told the boys to stand up and all the girls to stay seated and that they're supposed to be silent, polite, and gentle. And as you just heard, Tom Jones of the Tampa Bay Times calls for the Bucs to trade, waive, or cut Winston. Louis Riddick is here with us now, and so glad to have you. I want to start with you on this.
Yeah.
You heard what Tom Jones called for. Do you think they should cut him?
Yeah, that's a tough question, look, because there's a lot of internal information that the Bucs are privy to that we aren't privy to, and a lot of things that they know about Jameis that we don't know about Jameis that could lead them to not cutting him. I will say this, though. I don't know if it's a black and white issue sitting from the outside looking in about whether or not you should cut him, but I will say this personally from someone who has been in those kind of character meetings when you're discussing whether or not you should keep someone on your roster based on the decisions that they make. The things surrounding Jameis are getting tiring. Flat out, they're getting tiring. This is just not how you're supposed to conduct yourself, and this is not the kind of controversy you're supposed to always find yourself involved in, period, anyway, whether or not you're a football player or not. But number two, if you are a football player and you are a franchise quarterback and you are someone who in 2019, if they are to pick to go ahead and pay you your fifth-year option money, they're going to pay you $20 million. And someone who now plays a position where they're guaranteeing upwards of 80, 90, maybe even $100 million for top-flight quarterbacks, there's just no way an organization is going to entrust you enough to invest that kind of money, that kind of capital in you when you find yourself in these kind of situations, which basically, Molly, are a choice. This is a choice, okay? When you get in an Uber, there should be no controversy about what you're supposed to be doing. You should be sitting your rear end in a seat and taking a ride somewhere to wherever they were supposed to take you. It should be black and white, just like that. So if an organization decides to make a black and white decision and send you down the road because they're just tired of this controversy, then you're going to have to accept what's coming. This would be something that, for me right now, I'll tell you this, if I'm Jason Light, who's the general manager down there, and a couple guys in the front office who I know, who I've worked with, I promise you, they are getting tired of this. And this is going to be a discussion that is going to be very heated as far as what do we do with him? How do we get him to stay away from these kind of controversies and do the kind of things that we need him to do? Because, he's 24 years old. Yeah. He's a good quarterback. I'm counting on him having a good year this year. I've been one of the people who on the football field have been supporting the fact that I think this is Jameis's year. I think this is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' year. I think this is Dirk Cutter's year. I think this is Jason Light, the GM's year. This is a year for them in the South to go ahead and take a leap.
But quarterbacks need to be held to a higher standard.
There's no question about that.
You're leading the team.
And I'm not making any excuses. Trust me. I hope you hear the tone of my voice. I'm not making any excuses for him. I'm kind of getting tired of it. This kind of thing wears thin with me pretty quickly. And it's worn thin with me long before this with Jameis. But I've given him the benefit of the doubt because he's young, okay? And people make mistakes and people do dumb things. And he's someone who seemed to be starting to get it. And this is not just from the outside looking in. This is from talking to people and saying, we think he may be starting to get it. But when you start hearing this, when you hear this kind of thing, and now we're talking about it here on a show like this, it's a problem.
And it's bad for the league as well.
Yeah.
Stephen A?
Go ahead, Molly. Go ahead, Max.
Well, look, Jameis Winston, as you mentioned, Molly, has run into problems in the past consistently.
Yes.
And some of them have been serious when you look at what the accusations were or even what the behavior was. You say, wait a minute, that's not so good. First of all, Louis, I defer obviously to your football opinion, but I don't see it in, it's possible Jameis could be a really good quarterback, but after his performance this last season, I don't know. Maybe he's giving us all the feeling he'll be good and he's just not accurate enough. I don't know. But as a person, if you listen to his denial of this, and incidentally, also, if you get into an Uber, of course there shouldn't be a controversy about that, but famous athletes can be targets and can be accused of things they haven't done. And so the accusation alone shouldn't be enough. But if you listen to but when you have the past Jameis does, and you're accused, that's a little different. And you know what? Whether or not you did anything, you have to accept responsibility that your past behavior has left you vulnerable to accusations. But if you listen to Jameis's denial originally, it wasn't exactly a denial that nothing went wrong, that nothing bad happened. He was saying that he thought the driver was confused as to how many people were in the car and who might have been sitting next to her. Well, if Jameis is with other people who are behaving that way, he is also responsible for himself that way. He has to know who he is, the fact that he's high profile, the fact that he's been in trouble before, and furthermore, I know you can't control the behavior of the people around you, but why would you be hanging out with someone who would sexually molest an Uber driver, or anyone? So it's not good for Jameis, and I think not only is the question, what should the Bucs do? But when you think about how the NFL has been dogged with issues, and partly that's because they're this behemoth, right? They're so big that everyone, and they have so many players that they're likely to have a criminal element, they're likely to have a disproportionate amount of attention drawn to things that go wrong. But still, anthem protests are not their biggest problem or even close. The behavior of many of its star players is a problem. Obviously concussions, etc., are a bigger problem. But this is one of the problems the NFL faces. They have high-profile players misbehaving consistently.